We believe, our board believes, Veronica Shaw, our board president, believes that when our students do great things, it's just important, even if it's just for a moment, even if it's just for a Monday night before St. Patrick's Day, just to press the pause button and acknowledge these young people. It is so important, and you never want to just assume that great things are happening, that's the way it is, let's go on our way. My name is Bob McBride. If I didn't introduce myself, superintendent here at Lockport Township High School District 205. And I think our district is a place where excellent things are happening all the time. Sometimes they're happening so often, students are doing great things so frequently, that we can just rush into the next day and the next day, and then a week becomes a month and a month becomes a year. And we just owe it to our young people to say something that young people don't hear all the time. And that's, we're proud of you. We want to exalt you when you are doing great things, and we want you to know that you've done great things. But similarly, do you know you've done great things? Who's a parent in here? Yeah, that's kind of a trick question, right? I'm a parent too, right? Take the parent with. Rest assured that if your child is here or you're supporting a child tonight, that child has gone the distance, made sacrifices, didn't do something to do something else. All the awards that you're going to hear about tonight put your children in the top 1 to 5% of children in the nation. Whether they are earning an Eagle Scout, whether they are earning an ACT award, it puts them at the very top of children in this nation, and certainly in this state. That's just worth stopping and having our Board of Education fold you into a meeting and saying, let's acknowledge these young people because they've done really great things for you, their families, for themselves and their future, and for our school community. Can we do that? Is that all right? Can we clap these guys in now? Yeah, right. Good stuff. So I want to and hey, your school board is here. These are people, for me, this is my profession. This is my job. But these folks, this is their community volunteerism. If you volunteer at your church, or you volunteer at a language center, or a community center, or a resource center, they're doing this long night, this long meeting, all this preparation on your behalf as volunteer elected officials. So could you clap it out for our board members, please? Really appreciate it. Dr. Shaw, our board president, will turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So before we begin, I was told to provide a reminder. Our Porter Pride store is open, so when you're done here, there's a bunch of stuff in there made by porters for porters, so you can stop in there and buy some porter swag if that interests you. All right, so back to our board business. Do I have a motion to reconvene the regular meeting? Okay. Motion by Ms. Gerritsen. Okay, second by Ms. O'Halloran. Roll call.
Straight?
Yes.
Gerritsen? Haley?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes. Okay, the regular session convened at 7:15 p.m. And if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody on the corner. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I believe I'm turning it over to Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. I am the principal, Dr. Jacqueline Johnson of East Campus. I'm here to talk about our first resolution. Whereas, Logan Martin, come on up. All right, so the resolution is recognizing Logan Martin, a sophomore student at Lockport Township High School District 205, has achieved Eagle Scout status, the highest rank awarded by the Boy Scouts of America for his service project Logan provided duffel bags filled with essential items for foster children at one family in Lockport, ensuring that children entering new placements have comfort, dignity, and necessities of their own. And whereas mentor Linda Oberhaus, whose dedication and guidance played an instrumental role in his accomplishments by always encouraging Logan to strive for excellence, and whereas Logan Martin has brought honor and distinction to himself, his family, school, community, and Troop 63. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Logan Martin is hereby recognized for achieving esteemed rank of Eagle Scout from the Boy Scouts of America on this 16th day of March 2026. Congratulations, Logan.
It didn't happen if there was a thing. You're in the middle, you are.
I have another resolution. Can Julianne Caraway please come on down? I see you coming. All right. Now this resolution recognizes the accomplishments of Julianne M. Caraway in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program. Whereas Julianne Caraway has excelled in performance on the 2026 Preliminary Scholastic Aptitude Test, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, PSET, MNSQT, and whereas Julianne Caraway has received a certificate in recognition of exceptionally high performance demonstrated by being named a finalist in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program, comprised of over 1.3 million juniors who took this examination, and whereas fewer than 1% of the nation's high school seniors were named finalists, and whereas Julianne Caraway has brought honor and distinction to her family, school, and communities by being named a finalist. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Julianne Caraway will hereby be recognized for having received this honor by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation for her individual performance in the 2026 Preliminary Scholastic Aptitude Test, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. That this resolution was passed by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School, District 205, the 16th day of March 2026. Congratulations, Julianne.
Oh, there you go. Yes, make sure it's perfect. Yes. I'm so very proud of you.
Can Gabriella Kidzierski please come on down? All right, this resolution recognizing the accomplishments of Gabriella Kidzierski in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program. Whereas Gabriella Kidzierski has excelled in performance on the 2026 Preliminary Scholastic Aptitude Test, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, PSET, MNSQT. And whereas Gabriella Kidzierski has received a certificate in recognition of exceptionally high performance demonstrated by being named a finalist in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program, comprised of over 1.3 million juniors who took this examination, and whereas fewer than 1% of the nation's high school seniors were named finalists. And whereas Gabriella Kidzierski has brought honor and distinction to her family, school, and communities by being named a finalist. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Gabriella Kadzierski will hereby be recognized for having received this honor by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation for her individual performance in the 2026 Preliminary Scholastic Aptitude Test, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. That this resolution was passed by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School District 205, this 16th day of March 2026. Congratulations, Gabriella.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Carrie Green. I am the principal of Central Campus, and tonight I am honored to talk about our pre-ACT Distinguished Scholars and pre-ACT Rising Star Scholars. Now, there was a test given in the fall, which is considered a pre-ACT, and all students in the United States are eligible for these awards that took these tests. We're very excited. You can see we have a long line of students to honor. So just so parents know, we will be announcing each child's name. They will be walking around. We will try to get a group photo, and then at the end, we'll have the backdrops up if you'd like to come get individual photos and also photos with your family. But tonight, with these pre-ACT distinguished scholars and rising star scholars, there is such a great feat with both of these. With our first award tonight, the pre-ACT Rising Scholars, these are students who scored in the 90 to 96 percentile in the nation. So these are students in the top 4 to 10%. Again, all of these students are here tonight, and we'd like to honor them at this time. Elijah Barnett. Carson Beckus. Jensen Bennett. Lily Lecharski. Ariatas Lucharevis. Alexander Bowman. Daniela Castillo. Cindy Corrigan. Eliza Detman. Miles DeVito. Ryan Dotkey. Joseph Dolce. Anthony Judgic. Leanne Leon. William Estrada. Paige Lynch. Olivia Galfano. Kayla Geronimo. Alexandra Cardesti. Quinlan Howard. Mia Hussein. Dominic Jarabek. Nathan Gillick. Braden Flacco. Olivia Krugman. Henley Cruz. Isla Lundeen. Isabel Marion. Bridget McCombs. Jordan McMurtry. Vincent Meyer. Davidus Montavia. Logan Ocheski. Nikki Money. Finn Omnisori. Mercy Owatucci. Lillian Flay. of the students in our nation. So one more round of applause for our rising stars. At this time, I need to read the resolution into the board minutes. Whereas those students have excelled in the pre-ACT Rising Star program and have been named Rising Scholars by American College Testing, and thereby have brought honor and distinction to themselves, their families, schools, and community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School District 205, that those students in the class of 2029 are hereby recognized for their outstanding academic achievement in the pre-ACT Rising Stars program competition. That this resolution was passed by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School District 205 on this, the 16th day of March. One more round of applause. We have another group of students, and they are considered to be distinguished scholars. They have scored in the 97th or higher percentile in the nation. So these students are in the top 3% of all the students in our country. So if I could please have our distinguished scholars step forward. Kenza Abbas. Carson Novak. Jacob Sipa. Emily Smita. Sophia Demodoris. Maximilian Novak. Zachary Bilkowitz. Dan Eppenbaum. Griffin Elder. Annie Elson. Olivia Griesberg. Ella Rodriguez. Rayanne Island. Danielle Mayer. Ken Jensen. Hugh Hopkins. Layla Fletcher. Emma Lasco. Sophia Maka. Annie McComb. Kendall Myers. Leslie Baraka. Morgan Meyer. Ashley Meyer. Patrick Nielsen. Adriana Chowski. Ava Peterman. Landon Rogel. Elijah Rodriguez. Neil Rodriguez. Irene Salvatore. Matthew Marinsky. Emily Stuchek. Everett Ornette. Jake Weston. Claire Zicky. Again, those students are in the top 3%, so I'd like to read the resolution into the board minutes. Whereas those students have excelled in the pre-ACT Rising Star programs and have been named Distinguished Scholars by the American College Testing, and thereby have been brought honor and distinction to themselves, their families, schools, and community. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School District 205, that those students in the class of 2029 are hereby recognized for their outstanding academic achievement in the pre-ACT Rising Stars program competition. That this resolution was passed by the Board of Education, Lockport Township High School District 205 on this, the 16th day of March. Congratulations one more time to all of us. After Dr. McBride and Dr. Shaw dismiss us to come up and take pictures, but congratulations to you as families. These students did not get here by themselves. You have a large part in this accomplishment, so congratulations to all of us.
I would just like to echo what Dr. Green had to say up here. All of the students that just walked across and shook my hand, they couldn't have done all of this without you. So if you guys can give yourselves a round of applause, I'd have the kids do it. Okay, so to the Board of Education, do I have a motion to accept the resolutions as presented this evening? All right, motion by Ms. Lopez-Caneva. Second? Second by Ms. Hayes. Roll call?
O'Halloran? Yes. Wright?
Yes.
Hayes? Yes. Garrison? Yes. Lopez Caniva? Yes. Shaw?
Yes. Okay, so just a reminder, the Porter Pride store is open if you'd like to go purchase some Porter swag. And if you'd like to join us for our meeting, we will be in the Porter room, but please enjoy these lovely backdrops and the rest of your evening.
I guess I'll go first. I'll just say salute to the district to keeping a watchful eye on this lovely weather that we're having.
Beautiful.
As you know, things get panicky and people get nervous, it's nice to know that they're keeping an eye on everything for us.
I've got two. One, I was able to attend the American Bandmasters Association convention with Ann and Dr. McBride. Awesome. What a great experience. Thank you very much for letting me go and attend, and the kids rocked it, and I was just amazed. So it was really great, and kudos to all the kids that practiced so hard. The second one was I had the opportunity to participate in the AI professional development with the high school. So thank you to Matt Dusterhoff, Kate Fahey, and Megan Nelligan for letting me participate and setting up a really cool 3 days. And then Stephanie Cardella, just a shout out to her as the EAP Innovations Executive Director. She facilitated the sessions, and she was great, wonderful, and I enjoyed getting to meet staff members and learn some pretty cool stuff about AI. So, and made me think about things in a way that I hadn't thought about them before. So thank you very much.
I also like to echo Ms. Candace Gerritsen. Yes, I also attended, the American Bandmasters Association, the convention that they had, and our Lockport Wind Symphony was the only high school that was invited to perform there. And you had various conductors from various high schools and universities, and they conducted one song, each for our band there. But it was very amazing. And I also want to give a shout out to our Mr. Eric Slager, who designed the book here and did all the program pictures. It was really, everyone complimented on it. Okay.
I'd like to give a shout out to Ms. Murdoch and Mr. Covey as well. They led the kids in their band performance last Thursday, and it was super fabulous. And my understanding is we did hear some of the music that was played from that performance that you're referring to, and it was amazing. And one of the things that I thought was really incredible too, and I wrote down the student's name, his name was Cayenne Santiago, and on Thursday night, Cayenne actually did the directing for one of the musical pieces. And I think that there's nothing greater to see your own students when you've trained them, and for them to take over and to perform is really incredible, and it's a very proud moment. And he did a wonderful job, but the kids all did excellent on Thursday.
I did not get a chance to attend any events this past month. It's been very busy, but I just wanted to give a board salute out to all the scholars that we just recognized. What an amazing representation of our district and the community that showed up to support them. It's just amazing to see just month after how we are recognizing our students, not only in sports and athletes and fine arts and academics. It's amazing to see all the greatness that's happening here.
I also was not able to attend anything this month, but I would like to give a shout out to Kathy Maxwell for keeping me on track between last board meeting and this one with all of the things I've had to come over and sign and the forms I've had to deal with and things like that. So thank you, Kathy. All right. So up next, student board report.
Hey guys, hope everyone's doing good tonight. So we first want to talk about the March 4th advisory meeting. At that meeting, we got some new student opportunities. We decided to hire 5 new social workers, and that involves a lot of interviewing. So we want to have those students on the interview panels again. So we had a sign-up sheet for all the interviews.
Okay.
Homework 33C is also looking for alumni for a planning committee. So a sign-up sheet for that went out too.
Nice.
So just getting more student voice in the community, which is awesome. And then from our groups, once we finally separated, from the 8-period day, we had start time concerns. So we feel like students aren't yet fully aware of the new start times. So we know that there's still some working on with that, but we're considering maybe like a press release from the student board members once we finalize the times to like get those times out there for the new Wednesday schedule. Student discipline visited BIC, and the second session of the youth mental health training happened, and we learned a lot of fun stuff about how sometimes it's beneficial to like go behind people's back, even if it's to help them.
All right. So this past month has been quite busy compared to last month. So we had the AP Day at the Capitol. So a few students and I and Senora Pratt and Dr. Gilbert, we went to the AP Day at the Capitol where we shared our experience with legislators, and then we like kind of like used that to show that like AP needs more funding for all test takers to make it equal across the board. So like not just like people with higher incomes can take the tests. And then we also received a tour of the governor's mansion. So it was pretty cool. Like it was a cool day down in Springfield, and we represented Lockport well, I think. And then in addition to that, it was Read Across America Week 2 weeks ago, and the NHS board went and read books to young kids at Shillingham Elementary School. So just promoting reading from like a young age, which I think is important. And then also in our PE classes for Adventure Ed, we've had field trips to rock climbing. So like we've been in our rock climbing unit. Oh, sorry. You guys hear me the whole time?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. So we had field trips for our rock climbing unit, and we just got to use it similar to like the kayaking one. We got to use that real learning and like go and put it to the test. So it was a lot.
And I would like to shout out all the Lockport students that went on that field trip. A lot of schools go to that facility, and we had amazing results and amazing, what do they call it? Reviews from the people that worked there. They said we were one of the best behaved schools there. And that really goes to show that Lockport does it well.
And last but not least, the Porter Pride Spectacular. That was like a great event this past week. You know, we got to see the Special Olympics play basketball, and there was a lot of support from the community, which I thought was amazing.
Great.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Just one quick one. So you're concerned about the start times? Is it just not that they don't know what they feel that they don't know what they are yet, or is there a concern? Is it just not knowing?
The concern is not that it's too early. The concern is just like a lot of students weren't aware.
Got it.
So just if we like push the messaging that this is when school's going to start next year, it'll just make more sense to them.
Okay.
And I think part of that's just because it's been a new topic and we've yet to like push it too
Okay.
much.
Thanks.
All right. AFT report?
Hello. I will be quick tonight. I guess with tomorrow being St. Patrick's Day, one word comes to mind, and that's lucky. Lucky to be in a district that's growing when other districts are not. Lucky to be in a district that recognizes students. You know, everywhere I turn, now a new, sports season is starting. It's just a great district to be a part of. And it's because, a lot of hard work from you guys, the board, Stephanie, who watches our finances like a hawk. I just, as I kind of read the, internet and all of those things, I'm just lucky to be in a district that values our electives, values our staff, and I'm just happy to be a Porter. So thank you.
Thank you.
IASB report. Ms. Johnson, is there any report from IASB this month?
I don't have anything. I know there's a Three Rivers division meeting coming up, I think April the 9th.
And I believe that a number of us are signed up to go to that? Yeah. Okay.
And then also, in your packets, there is just a little advertisement for a new product ISB is doing, which is a workshop on sort of boards getting organized to launch a superintendent search. So that's just in your folder. I know that's something the board's thinking of, but that's a nice new product that the ISB is doing.
Okay. Foundation report? Is Ms. Adolph?
Angela Adolph is ill.
Okay.
So I can take the report if there's any, questions that we have, anything for her tonight, but she is not here to do a report. I do know attending last week, already Taste of Lockport is on, deck and organized. Also the golf outing, which is June 9th. I have to always remember to get my foursome going. I don't know, maybe James White and Ryan Gleason will golf with me. I could learn a thing or two. But that is June 9th, a great event that is completely organized already and all set for that date. So a number of different things going on. And of course, the biggest thing coming up, I hope I don't fumble the date. I believe it's May 15th. If I'm wrong, it's a Wednesday. But that is our huge scholarship night. You know, and the foundation, an incredible amount of scholarship raising and fundraising they've done. So it is a Wednesday that week, and I apologize if I'm off on the date. Because I'm probably thinking of April 15th, nothing to do with the foundation, but that is the top 10 dinner. And it's zooming up on us, so we'll get things out to board members if you would like to attend the top 10 dinner.
Okay. Legislative report.
Interesting things going on. You know, it's getting hot down in Springfield, maybe as James is aware. A lot going on because what's happening right now, you know, definitely a pause. Tomorrow there's an election. So for about the past, you know, week, things have really calmed down as members have gone back to their communities either support other candidates or candidates running. There are a couple things that we're just really paying attention to, the ones that I would highlight. We are paying attention to a House bill that is and a Senate bill that are both moving forward. That in essence, you know, we have quite a few 10-month employees who, through the definition of their job, are 10-month employees. This bill would allow 10-month employees to, and we pay out 26 pay to our employees. So we're paying our employees all year round, and we're paying you know, benefits also a year-long consideration. But this would allow for 10-month employees of any kind to qualify for unemployment benefits. And so that would be a huge change, you know, in how we would do operations. A lot of my superintendent colleagues, I haven't really studied this enough, but a lot of my superintendent colleagues, their response to that is that they would make all employees 12-month employees. I don't know how that impacts sort of licensed staff, because most of our collective bargaining agreements, you know, for our licensed teaching staff, counselors, deans. So keeping an eye on this. We're not it's one of those bills coming out of committee, we're just not sure what it means fully. Another bill of interest, I think, to us is removing some barriers that have been kind of put in the way of school districts that want to generate alternative revenue through solar. You know, the board knows that we did not achieve what we hoped to achieve, the use of your land, I would say it is your land, to do a solar project in Homer Glen. We've really given up on that, and we've started to look back about doing a solar project here. At least the initial estimates is over 20 years that could generate about $200,000 a year for the district in revenue and about $7 million over 20 years. That's money that could do good things for students and for staff members. We're also looking at a bill about cafeterias. Tonight we're asking you, we're very pleased with Quest, the way that the state works right now with renewing contracts. We're asking you to approve a 5-year contract with Quest. We're that pleased with them. We're that confident in the work that we've done with them. But this bill would really revamp the approval process, almost create a bidding process, much like what you see with Neil Offerman in Berglund, where that has to be bidded out. A much more lengthy routine process, so keeping an eye on that. And then also, I'm in direct conversation on this one, trying to get a moment to talk to Senator Lachlan Capel. This is a bill that relates to notice to remedy. And what it would do, Senator Capel has put forward allow a notice to remedy to be grievable. So if a notice to remedy was coming and then the board was going to approve it, a member, an individual receiving a notice to remedy could grieve it. And then also it timelines how long a notice to remedy would be sort of in force. And so just trying to understand, you know, kind of what Senator Capel is thinking, you know, what's on her mind with supporting this bill, but it's made it out of committee and seems to be on its way.
Okay.
Just want to learn a little bit more about it. Any questions? Those are the bills. There's a lot of bills. Those are the ones I think are germane to our district. Okay, great.
All right, there is no public comment follow-up because there was no public comment at the last meeting. And then on to public comments. There is none this evening. There are no communications. We have 2 Freedom of Information requests. Those are available for the board members to look at. Are there any questions on those? Okay, up next, approval items. Approval of the board meeting open session minutes, February 23rd, 2026. Do I
Can I
have?
make a note?
Mhm.
There was a really good board member question. In those minutes, we had an error. We had our new graduation requirements by voice passed, but looked like the resolution failed. So the minutes that you have in the agenda are the updated minutes with the resolution passing. So I just want, that's a really good note. You know, thanks to Ms. O'Halloran for noticing that. So that's corrected, you know, important correction historically, right?
Mhm.
But you're voting tonight on the corrected version.
All right, thank you for that update. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 23rd, 2026 board meeting?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Hayes, second by Ms. O'Halloran. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes from the February 23rd, 2026 board meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Lopez Caniva,
Second.
second by Ms. Straight. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from March 5th, the March 5th, 2026 special board meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hayes, second by Ms. Garrettson. Roll call.
Yes.
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 I think I wasn't there, so I sang.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes from the March 5th, 2026 special board meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. O'Halloran,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Hayes. Roll call.
Yes.
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 She has to abstain. Yeah, Ms. Johnson, you'd have to abstain. That's the same meeting that you were absent. Just
Oh,
a
yeah.
just a closed
Abstain.
session.
I'm sorry. I abstain.
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the March 2026 board expenses?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Lopez Caniva,
Second.
second by Ms. Straight. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, and we're, up next, we have the treasurer's report. Do I have a motion to accept the February 2026 treasurer's report?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. O'Halloran. Any questions for Ms. Croy?
No questions.
Anything specific you'd like to point out?
Really,
And,
you
and
answered
just,
the only
you know,
question
for
I
board
had.
members,
Yeah.
I did share with you, there were board member questions earlier today. So if there's any, you know, some of those had to do with the treasurer's report, if there's any that you just kind of want to talk out or ask out, you know, now for the public.
The only thing I would point out is, as I do every month, our statement of position, right? So that you can see, Dr. McBride, would you navigate to the statement of position for me, please, in the financial
Yep.
reports? That first page, so that, I mean, just because it's something that, you know, board goal that we continue to monitor, the month's cash on hand, and it continues to go down at this time of year, right? So you'll see that, and one of the other things I didn't catch when I did the treasurer's report, in the transportation fund, which is the one that's lowest cash on hand, I need to transfer an investment over to a different fund because the cash is negative. If anybody noticed that, all the way at the top of the transportation fund. The way that the cash account works is it's a commingled cash account. So, it's not like we're bouncing any checks. That would not happen. You can see that the total cash and investments is still combined 1.878 million in the transportation fund. So all that means is there's an investment of roughly $400 and some thousand that really belongs to the ed fund right now instead, should have transferred that before we closed the month, but it didn't. So you'll see that on there as well. And that's part of the cash management as we spend down, right? We invest the cash out to buy fund. That not everyone does that either. That's something that we do here that not all districts do. Sometimes they invest commingled. They don't even invest out by fund like that. But we invest out so that each fund technically owns the investment, and that's why it looks that way. So otherwise it would look differently. Are there any questions about that? I know it can be a little confusing, but just seeing a big negative looks weird. So I wanted to make sure I explained that.
We'd like to see a positive attitude.
Right,
instead of a
negatives
negative
are
attitude.
bad, positives are good, right? So, there's 3 months cash on hand in the transportation fund right now, which should get us right up to when we get taxes. So we'll have to see whether if it comes shorter before that, then I would be asking the board to approve an interfund transfer from education to transportation to cover the expenses if we get to that point. Okay. And I think I talked about that when the board approved the tax levy in December, that there was a potential for that. So, any other questions on any parts of the?
Our estimated months cash on hand, the total at the end is 9 months, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Making sure I'm reading it correctly.
Yep.
Thank you.
I had just brought up a question about the 2024 real estate tax report. And so I just had a question about understanding some of the terminology, I guess, on that thing. So thanks very much for clarifying that on what extension was.
Yeah, the tax law and in the county, they use the word extension, which is a little bit different than how we think of an extension. We think of an extension as you've extended. I've asked for an extension of time, where in this case they're talking about the board passes the levy and the county extends it to the taxpayers for us. So they use, here's your extension. And it never matches perfectly to the levy because of new property, because of any other final last minute assessment things, right? It's close usually, but it's technically a different number, and that's what they use.
Thanks.
So, yeah, of course.
And for board members, in addition to that board member question, there is also this year's extension.
Well,
and it is confusing because, like Stephanie said, extension seems like elongating a thing. Really, it's just a fancy way of saying that the county gives your levy to the taxpayers to pay.
And that was the 2024 that I attached for the tax levy, which is what we're still seeing in the report. Pretty much any day I should be getting the tentative 2025 from the county. And then I'll match that up with your approval and make sure that it approve it, and then they'll send out tax bills later in the spring. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And thank you for keeping us updated on the things that are coming up that we're probably going to have to vote on in future meetings.
Yeah, there's a lot, right? And so just knowing some of the more routine things or bigger things, I figured that helps keep me in order too. So.
And just a couple quick announcements if there's not any other questions. There was also a board member question about a home builder, MI Homes, and that is something that we receive. We negotiate with each of our municipalities. They set it, which are called impact fees. Public bodies, when a builder comes in, they build something. We receive, depending on how the municipality set it, impact fees. And in this case, those impact fees can go, they're really designed to go into capital improvements that take on, the impact of that new development being in the community as well. I think that's the only financial question. And then just a reference to what my colleague, Mrs. Kishline, said. I think she's referring to, we've long predicted that we are sailing into some difficult financial times, and that climate is really, it's really manifesting itself. It certainly did last week, and just to have board members attuned to what's going on. You have some school districts that planned on using ESSER funds in 2026 as they could, if they had budgeted for that. We did not plan on using any ESSER grant funds. Those funds, the new federal administration cut those. Our state is one of 16 states that's in an arm wrestle with the federal government over withholding federal funds through what used to be the Department of Education. Everybody knows how speedy litigation is, right? We're starting to feel at the local level the impact of those federal funds. Luckily, we don't count, for 40 or 50% of our budget on federal funds. So we're starting to feel that. Finance and Facility Committee, we'll talk about it maybe even tonight. The cost, even in a year, of building materials has gone up precipitously. And so we're seeing that our work at Central is impacted by that. We met last week on healthcare benefits. Our goal is to provide our members, our staff, with excellent benefits, benefits you can use at a price that you can make a contribution with the board and the board can afford and you can afford. So we are constantly working that. We felt pretty good that we're anticipating a 10% increase, because out there in the healthcare landscape, increases are going up by 30, 40, 50%. Healthcare costs are just driving up for a variety of different forces. So I think those are the dynamics that Mrs. Kishline pointed out that I'm sure she's seeing, region-wide. We're seeing that as well. And just really, kudos to Mrs. Croy for managing things so well, and we're really keeping our eyes on that. You will, I believe, in the next year, start seeing the impacts of that. You'll see it a little bit tonight, too, in our staffing plan. We already were a little bit more conservative, shared that with you, in the agenda, than also in my board update on Friday, than we might otherwise be.
And while Dr. McBride, while we don't receive as much federal funds, that state squeeze is showing up. That's part of why the transportation fund is so tight, right? Because of how much they're
reimbursing.
They're reimbursing a prorated percentage of what they should be, right? And it's less than it used to be. They used to prorate at 80-some%, and now it's at 60-some%. So that means we spend more, and they reimburse a lot less. And so that's part of what the transportation funds, shortage is. So.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Thank you. All right. Seeing no further questions, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Okay, up next, we have the board president's report. So I have something on the agenda. We have been in conversations because Dr. McBride has been selected to run the marathon to represent Citco. And unfortunately, the days coincide with our next board meeting. So are there any issues with moving our April 20th board meeting to April 27th? No issues?
I don't have an issue.
I don't have an issue.
Okay. We don't
You
need
should
to vote on it?
stipulate a time that I have to finish in or something like that. Have fun with the thing, So
Eat Oprah.
yeah, right. I'm doing okay so far.
Oh, well, good. Good. All right. So the next, the April board meeting then will be on April 27th. There's that. So we're also working on Dr. McBride's evaluation. So if you could get that form into me as soon as possible. I'll get a draft out to everyone so that we can take a look at that. And then the last thing that I just have is with our feeders, we have one feeder district that has a couple of things going on. They feel like after this month is over, they will be able to continue on with our conversations as far as, getting together and just talking about how we can, unite as in the area and move forward with some things. So I'll be in contact with them very soon on the next meeting date. So. Up next, we have our superintendent's update.
Yeah, great. I'm going to have a few friends join me, Stephanie Croy and John Greenan. I also just realized I have to load up Dr. Greenan's slides. So come on down. I'll get those up there in transition. into those. Just a few general comments from me as I kind of get myself technology oriented and pull a few things up for you. In your folder, you have copies of the memos. Color copies are a little bit sharper than when you might have seen electronically. So I would really encourage you to follow along as we prepare to talk about one of the most important things we do, which is our licensed staffing. It's not that, I'm not saying it's important because licensed staff, they're more important than anybody else. It's important because it's the largest employee group every year. So any decision related to that staff becomes very important with the largest employee group. And also more important, as Mrs. Kishline said, with the addition of an 8-period day, we are expanding. We're not physically building a building, but we are building an additional period. So we want to keep our minds on that. A couple things I would add. Really appreciate you giving your time to acknowledge those students. I will tell you, National Merit finalist, I haven't dealt with many of them in my career. They're that rare. So that's a huge accomplishment to have a finalist. Lots of semifinalists, but finalist status is really very, very special. Also would share, we did meet with our demographer last week, Jerome McKibben, to reload lots of dynamics, not to be talked about here, but a really good meeting with our feeder districts, hearing from him some of the things that he's predicting. His predictives since 2022 have been right on the money. And, you know, just he's a wealth of information. We're looking maybe in the first week of June, having that demographic projection rebooted, maybe him coming on up here and doing a presentation for joint boards, just about what's happening in our district. Too many fascinating dynamics about housing and sales to go through, you know, here. And then all of your board salutes. Wow, what a great week to be a porter last week. As Mrs. Kishline always reminds us, it doesn't happen on its own. Great staff helping students do amazing things in the city, advancing again to Milwaukee this weekend, off the record and Vocal Point. Really, really pretty amazing. Without further ado, I want to bring you into the staffing process and make sure that we answer all of your questions. I know there were some board member questions. I'll do a little preface. I'll allow Dr. Greenan and Mrs. Croy to do a preface, but I will open up a PowerPoint, a Google slide deck that's going to walk you through some of the things we accomplished. This is ultimately our recommendation based on adding an additional class period here at East Campus. It pulls that whole process together that we started really in late October, even earlier if you count the research we did last year on the 8-period day. So it asks you to consider staffing, not only the process, the staff that we're recommending, but we'll also show you how we try to manage staff costs. So let me open up this Google slide deck, and then I don't know, Dr. Green, anything you want to preface in the memo or anything like that?
Sure.
Just let me know.
Thank you, Dr. McBride. I would like to open with a similar sentiment as Katie Kishline expressed and Dr. McBride, and that's really gratitude to you as a Board of Education. The reason why I say that is going back to last year, a proposal was made to the Board of Education to add an 8th-period day at East Campus. Knowing that our request was likely going to be larger in terms of increased licensed staffing, the Board of Education said yes in support of ultimately giving our students the best opportunities, the most opportunities to take courses that they would like without having to feel like they would need to eliminate taking a course. That decision and your support does not go unnoticed. It is not taken for granted either. So really on behalf of our students and staff, I say thank you. As we go into the presentation tonight, myself and Ms. Stephanie Croy are going to go over the process that started really back in December with our students and really leads us up to tonight. I'm going to take you through a number of different steps throughout that process and give you a little bit of an overview right now with the next slide. Dr. McBride, this just kind of overviews what I'm going to present as well as Stephanie. We're going to get into some review of terms, the timeline, and some considerations. For those of you who were on the board last March, for my first presentation in this role, some of this might seem a little familiar. It's always good to refamiliarize with terms, plus we have 3 new Board of Education members as well. We're going to talk a little bit about our interviewing and hiring process, and then go through each department and give you a summary, really, of why we are recommending what we are recommending from each department. Stephanie is going to go through the financial side of it, and then we'll certainly be available for any questions. So the first few terms that I want to review is, you will oftentimes hear us refer to certain acronyms and certain terms, and we just want to make sure that you're understanding some of the terminology that we use. And some of these terms were used in the memo that you read, and will be in my presentation this evening. The first being what we refer to as FTE, full-time teaching equivalent, really is just in reference to, we refer to certain staff groups within our licensed staff group, and you can see all the different examples that I provide there in the description, from teachers to certified nurses. A couple other terms really required by the state of Illinois. The first being the professional educator license, which we often refer to as a PEL. Teachers need to have a PEL in order to teach in the state of Illinois. Professional educator license, to typically go to a college or university to earn that. However, there is another path that some of our teachers have that's referred to as an ELS, an educator license with stipulations. Just in summary, depending on the teacher, it could be a temporary license, it could be a permanent license. It's oftentimes a first step for a teacher to legally be able to teach in a public school in the state of Illinois. And then oftentimes that teacher is working on an advanced degree to then eventually earn that PEL. But in other cases, sometimes a teacher is able to be endorsed to teach at a public school in Illinois with an educator license with stipulations. I mentioned the word endorsed. That's a term that the state refers to really as any teacher being able to teach a certain subject. And when we refer to the term as a multi-endorsed teacher, this is something that we often look for. Easier said than done, but something that we often look for in the interview process is we may be hiring a teacher who is endorsed to teach math, but they may also have an endorsement to be an English as a second language teacher, we refer to as an EL teacher. I provided a couple other examples there as well. So we very much look to see if we have candidates who could definitely fill multiple needs for us. Sectioning really begins with our student course selection process, and that goes over the course of several months, actually, which I'm going to get to here in the next slide. And then really culminates with just last week, our building administrators and other administrators really making decisions based on the course selection process from the students. There's a lot of work done, great work that is done by our school counselors, by our teachers, department chairs, our building administrators. I'm going to get to some thank yous with the next slide. But ultimately, those two pieces together, the student course selection process and then our administration determining from those requests what we are able to accommodate, with also taking CBA, collective bargaining agreement obligations as well. And then we also refer to a term called sections that really oftentimes is referring to the classes available that are being taught by a teacher, but it also refers to, in some cases, like I provided a few examples, department chairs, coordinators, instructional coaches who may be teaching maybe 2-3 classes, but then they have release periods to do their department chair job or their advanced placement coordinator job or their instructional coach job. We do refer to those release periods as sections as well, just because they're not teaching those particular periods. They are still counted in that section number, that overall number, okay? So there's a little review in some cases for some terms. Any questions before I move on with our process? Okay. Going to refer back to the timeline that I had mentioned. As you can see, it started all the way back in very early December. Our school counselors meeting with students, talking about the course selection process, giving students the opportunity to begin self-selecting their courses. And that was a process that you can see started all the way back in early December going through the end of February. Really a special thank you to all of our school counselors. Grant Verkluck, our Student Services Department Chair. There is a lot of time that is spent by our school counselors talking about the classes. I really need to credit our teachers and department chairs as well, because conversations take place in the classroom to really promote the courses, to really help guide our students. But our school counselors are meeting with our students and really individualized, going through their schedule and really guiding them and helping them make the best choices. And again, it's because we have a Board of Education that said yes to an 8-period day, those conversations could be had in a way where they can talk about the choices they have, not necessarily decisions that they'd have to make in terms of courses that they can't take. Moving on into January, as you can see, January 13th was a day that I met with our building administrators, our department chairs, to go over our interview and hiring process, which I will summarize here in a couple of slides. And then we actually posted for anticipated positions, referring to those positions that we know that we were more than likely going to fill because of retirees at the end of this school year. This year and last year, I have met with all of our second-year licensed staff. Dr. McBride does the same with all of our first-year staff in an effort to really connect with some of our newer staff to see how things are going, to see if there's anything that we can assist with. We want to get feedback. What's been positive? Is there anything that we can help with? And I would say that Dr. McBride and I hear from both our first and second-year licensed staff that they really appreciate the early time frame that we've been able to post our positions. It's something that our current employees have appreciated. We've done this the last couple of years. We do this with intention, and as I and our other administrators and department chairs are taking a look at the number of applicants, I don't think it's a coincidence that we had an outstanding pool of candidates for our available positions. It certainly helps when we have your support as a board to say we're going to go ahead and post these positions. February, recruitment, interviewing begins. There's some job fairs that some of our staff attended. I'm a part of the Illinois Association for School Personnel Administrators. They have just recently done a virtual job fair that me and a few others took part in. We also had staff representatives in person at North Central College for their job fair, and just last week at Lewis University as they have a career fair as well. Been given some thank yous to a lot of staff groups. Another big thank you goes to Pat Dean, our Director of Student Information, referring to February 27th when the school links transferred to Infinite Campus. That might sound like a very simple process, but it is not. And a very big thank you to Pat Dean for all the work that he does. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes from a lot of different people that we're really thankful for this process. You can see school counselors and case managers meet in early March to do some quote-unquote cleanup work after the course selection process has ended from our students. I've got to give really another big thank you to our building principals, Dr. Green, Dr. Johnson, but even especially more our assistant principals, Robert Beach, Jason Osbolt, Josh Oster, Matt Bartley. They put in so much work and time behind the scenes with the student course selection, and then really starting to work with our department chairs and how the numbers are going to work out to determine what the recommendations are going to be at the sectioning meetings that we had, in fact, just last week. And then that leads us to tonight with our staffing request to you. Okay, so there's a summary over that timeline that we have of this very important process. Considerations that we take, we have both financial and hiring considerations. So myself, Dr. McBride, Stephanie Croy, and I would even put our building principals in this process. We start talking about these things very early in the year. We are able, as you were able to see in my memo a little bit towards the end, we start looking ahead for each year the amount of licensed staff retirees we have. We also know that there's also the possibility of a resignation for a variety of reasons, but we can start planning ahead and we can start talking about our process and very importantly, being as cost efficient as we can. I referred to the meeting that I had January 13th with the department chairs and the building administrators so that we can all be on the same page of what we want our interview and hiring process to be like. We get a lot of positive feedback from the people who we hire. And I think by and large, it's because it's a very organized process. It's very detailed. We're very much on the same page, and it involves a lot of people, and I'll get back to that in a sec. And then the last point on this slide, as I had mentioned earlier, we appreciate being able to post as early as we have been posting in recent years, because I really do believe it helps us get the best pool of candidates. We take several hiring considerations into play. Some of the terms that I referred to earlier, obviously we want to ensure that we are interviewing candidates who either have or are in the process of earning their Pell or ELS. Teacher endorsements, of course, I refer to multi-endorsed teachers. We're always looking to see if we can have people help us in a variety of areas. Being cost effective, of course, is a top priority. We're looking for diversity in a number of different areas. We're always looking for people who can also help us in the co-curricular end of things for our school. We know how important the amount of athletics and activities that we offer are to our students, so we want to ensure that we are hiring people that can also help us in the co-curricular area. And it really is truly a team concept for our interview and hiring process. Speaking of that process, and I refer to the meetings that I have and that Dr. McBride has with our second-year staff who I interview, and Dr. McBride as well. And we do get a lot of positive feedback on this process. As you can see, there's different phases. Starting from phase 1, an initial Google Meet screening interview, pretty brief, 15 to 20 minutes, where we're asking candidates to bring their resume to life, to talk about themselves, to talk about why Lockport. And we're fortunate to have a very strong pool of candidates, so this is challenging to get this number down to a reasonable amount of candidates to be able to then get it to an in-person round, which is then phase 2. One of the things that I want to point out about some of that feedback that I've referred to a couple times is our employees really appreciate the fact that we include students on our interview panels. That is honestly, that's probably the number one thumbs up that I get from the people who I've sat down with the last 2 years. And I know Dr. McBride hears that as well from our first year teachers. Something that we've done really now, I'd say maybe the last 5 or 6 years. And people are really impressed that as an administration, that we say yes to the students being on panels and giving their input. They're not just there, they're not just sitting there, they're giving their input. So that's certainly a very important piece and something that we get a lot of positive feedback on. We have an in-person round where we're including a department chair, administrators, people within the department for who we are hiring, but then also looking for other staff groups who could be a part of it, because we value diversity of thought. And we don't just want to, of course, we want to have people from possibly within that department if we're hiring for English. Yes, have some representation from English. But it's nice to also have people from other staff groups as well, again, just along that idea of the diversity of thought. Depending on how many candidates we have and depending on how many positions that we are hiring for, there very much could be a third round depending on the numbers. Possibly we may be ready to make a recommendation after round 2. That's something that I work closely with the building administrators and the department chairs. Some of these points here I touched on, or at least in terms of who is being involved, but when it comes down to the end of it, the committee, including, of course, the department chair, the administrator who is involved, they'll discuss the finalists. The recommendation then is being made. It's something that we talk about very closely. Then we have a process that, the recommendation process, there's a very detailed organization that goes to my office and personnel with Frankie Hatley, with Christine Mildice. Reference checks are made, and then we make the offer to the candidate of choice. So that is an overview of our interviewing and hiring process. So the next few slides that I have is a detailed summary of each department. And I'm going to go through the numbers with you and talk a little bit about why we are making this particular recommendation. Again, this is all information that as of last week, as of last March 11th. And as Dr. McBride referred to earlier, really a couple of pieces that are going into this recommendation. Number one, obviously adding the eighth period at East Campus next year. And then, of course, the courses that students are choosing, and then our current staffing, and then making determinations of how many more staff that we need. I would say our college and career applications department is very much one of the big winners, so to speak, in terms of courses that students were choosing. We're going to see social studies a little bit later was another big winner. And CCA, referring to our courses under family and consumer sciences, business and technology, we can see that we had a lot of students go towards this particular department. You can see in my summary, we have a family and consumer science teacher this year who is going to retire at the end of the year. We are going to replace that teacher, but we're actually going to need 2 more teachers in family and consumer sciences, plus 1 additional business and 2 additional technology teachers based on the course selection from our students. So the CCA department, you saw just a very small example of the great work that they do with the entrepreneurship class, the Porter Pride Store, which was open tonight. We're very excited about being able to, with your approval, of course, adding numbers to this great department that we have. Our deans remain, the number of deans remain consistent. And we go down to the English department. You can see we have a teacher who is retiring, and then we also have 2 different resignations. Within our sectioning process, and as well as the course selection process, we were able to make a determination that we would not have to replace all 3 teachers, that we would have to replace 2 of the 3. When we start taking a look at class sizes and the classes that are available, we're able to see if we're able to make some movement. We're able to see if a class size is maybe around 22 or 23, if we're able to collapse a section and then see the average class size maybe go up a little bit. It might not sound like it's a big deal going from 22 to 24. Anyone who's been in the classroom and taught know that that is a big deal, but we still feel like having an average class size in the mid-20s is a very reasonable number, and a number that we usually try to strive for. So English department, we're able to hire, we're requesting anyways, for 2 of those 3 available positions. Moving on, math does not have any staffing changes at this particular time. Physical education has a teacher who is retiring, who we will need to replace. And then next year, very much excited and offering behind the wheel during the school day. And that is going to be a reason why we are requesting 1 additional PE teacher for next year. Science has no changes. As I mentioned earlier, social studies was another one of the big winners from the students having an opportunity to choose an additional course at East Campus. As you can see, we're going to be requesting 6 additional social studies teachers. Special education, there is a need to hire 2 within special education because of numbers. However, we're going to end up hiring 3 special education teachers, because a teacher within this department who is multi-endorsed, who is able to teach EL, we have a need to hire an additional EL teacher. So that particular teacher is going to cover those EL sections for us, which opens up an additional special education teacher. So that's why we're going to be hiring for 3 special education teachers. I know that can be a little confusing.
So that's 2 new special ed positions, but an existing position we have to fill.
Yes.
In essence, and we're doing that, transferring internally from multiply certified, as Dr. Green said. People who have multiple endorsements can teach a variety of different things. One person slides out of special ed to ELL, we have to replace that. So we're generating 2 new positions, just moving people around inside of existing positions.
Okay, we'll go for the next one. Excuse me, our student services department, we have a school counselor and 1 social worker who are both retiring at the end of the school year, replacing both of those positions. And then, as you're very well aware, in February, just last month, you approved the hiring of 4 additional social workers. So our student services interview committee team has been very busy for the past month, and getting close to the end of their process for hiring for these very important positions. Our visual and performing arts department does not have any staffing changes at this time. And world language and cultures, we just got done explaining a little bit about the EL teacher. That is, there is a need, but we are going to be hiring an existing teacher from special ed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say we're going to be hiring. We're going to be really kind of transferring that particular teacher. But there is a request for one additional world language and cultures teacher due to increased course selection. So there will be one from the world language and cultures department we are requesting. Okay. All right, so that brings our a recommendation for 19 additional licensed FTE. That would be 15 additional licensed staff, plus the 4 social workers that were approved last month at the Board of Education meeting. So really, since we started talking about the 8-period day, I know Dr. McBride oftentimes is referred to with his calculations, anywhere from 20 to 22 in terms of likeliness of how many increased licensed staff we are going to need, and he was pretty close to that number. But I would also say that we also were able to do some work within our sectioning process, where we were able to make that number a little less than anticipated, with 15 plus the 4 social workers that were approved as well. Okay, so as you can see, that will take our overall licensed FTE number from 275, what we currently have this year, to 294. Now I'm going to move on to...
And why don't we just kind of pause there for a second, and ultimately when we make that decision, its ultimate impact, and in your folder you have a comparison, this year's class size and last year's class size, same meeting, same graph, 2 different years. And like Dr. Green said, ultimately those decisions, if you're just a little tighter, class size averages are going to go up by 1 or 2 students, different than it going up by 3, 4, 5, approaching your high 20s, low 30s. I think these class size averages for this year slightly higher than last year, like Dr. Green said, but I still think put our teachers in a really good situation and students in a really good situation to have personalized learning if you just look across the board at them. But that is ultimately a decision that you make when you do this whole process. In general, how big are classes in different departments? So maybe we can just take a pause, because this is ultimately what we're recommending to you, is that staffing increase. We're going to take a look at some finances and how we try to keep some controls, but just want to let that sit in just for a moment. See if there's any questions about class size, additions, areas that we're seeing in addition. I fairly think that things landed the way that we predicted. We knew in September that we were lining up to do a special emphasis on social studies, so that freshman year we could have a heavier dose of nonfiction reading. That ties in with complex reading proficiency. We knew from polling that CCA, very popular area, we anticipated we would see growth there. We did. And then we also knew that math, science, and English are already fairly fully subscribed. Many students are already taking 4 years of math, 4 years of English. 4 years of English is required. Many taking 3 years of science. We're not surprised we didn't see fluctuation in those departments. That didn't surprise us at all. Any questions we could take before we just kind of move on to how we're going to control? Some controls we'll put in place.
I guess just an observation. I really appreciate the thoroughness of the explanation. It was really helpful. I get sometimes confused with all the shortcut nomenclature. But I appreciate really also how hard everyone works to be very conscientious about, being very lean and, what the impact of that is. I just wanted to make sure that that's a comfort level for you and you're not feeling like you're overburdening any of your staff by being so strong on your position selection.
No, I appreciate you saying that, Candace. I can speak, for our administrators who are in the room when we have our sectioning meeting. Whether you were a teacher or not, Stephanie says she was never a teacher, but Dr. McBride reminds her that she is a teacher. We certainly remember how it was to be a teacher when at one point we were in that particular role. And so class sizes are very important. There's a balance, just to everything in life, there's a balance. So knowing that class sizes would go up a little bit, but still at a reasonable number is something that we talked very strongly about, and also, we make those decisions with confidence.
Thanks.
One of the other things we've tried to do here, and we're going to get to that when we start to talk about the costs too. We manage the staff in the numbers and in the cost of them, I guess. But meaning, what I mean by that is, we try to do everything when we look at the staffing from year to year, look forward as much as we can, right? So that we're not, this is one of the years where we're jumping up a lot of staff, which is kind of unusual, but we're doing it because of a change, right? Otherwise, we would try to kind of level things off, right? As we have retirements in the upcoming years, if there are places like the English department had this year where we could allow that, we're just not going to fill that one position, we'd prefer to do that, right? So that we keep a kind of a consistent staff where we're not riffing regularly, right? That's not something we do in this district, and we try not to, right? So we don't really want to riff, but we want to manage the costs by replacing thoughtfully, I guess, and then not replacing positions thoughtfully as well. Does that make sense?
And then RIF is just.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Reduction in force.
Got it.
That would be if we're in a position where we have staff, but we don't have the sections to have that number of staff. We would be having a conversation with a teacher. Unfortunately, they would not be renewed.
Right.
And that's one of the things where that's what I mean by that. We try to manage the cost as well as manage the staff, because it's good for morale of the staff that there's not a fear of being let go annually, right? Because we try to manage that through attrition instead. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Stephanie brings up a good point too. That Stephanie and I have been here for a few years, so we've been a part of, and administrators before us as well. This is really a testament to decisions that were made from not just people in the room presently, and including Board of Education, because there were times where we have had retirees, and to Stephanie's point, we had not had to replace with this in mind. So really, yes, it's a work for everyone in the room here, but also a credit to those before us as well, that we are in this position to be able to make these decisions.
Thanks.
Can you clarify the need for the reason behind the spike in social studies teachers? Because that is the biggest number that we're seeing for the new additions.
Yeah, I would say twofold. One, Dr. McBride already referred to it. I don't want to maybe say maybe focus is the word, but of course we want to focus on reading with our students is for classes across the board, but encouraging students to take social studies starting at their freshman year. It's not to say that we were not doing that at all, but just maybe a little bit more of a renewed focus. Plus, I would just say the course selection offerings within that department, subjects that students are interested in taking. As several of you know who are parents, students talk to each other a lot about courses. So it really is a credit to the departments to not only have those classes, but also the conversations that teachers are having, that school counselors are having. They happen to be popular courses that kids like taking, I would say, for both social studies and CCA as well.
I have just a couple questions. First of all, I would like to comment on just how well the sectioning played out as far as the number of students in each class, and the slight change in, the number. Lost for words right now. I'm not sure why. But my question is, when you looked at this and you did the sectioning, was there ever a discussion about there being a cap per class that you wanted to stay within?
Yeah, we have classes that have certain caps, and Dr. McBride, I'm not sure if you want to talk about that anymore. It varies
absolutely.
Depending on the course.
Yeah, and these are not part of the collective bargaining agreement. If you want to, this is sort of my worksheet that I was working off of. You just want to written all over. It's a fun artifact to look at. But, you know, some of them are based on size of the room, size of the facility, amount of workstation. Some of them are based on best practice. How big should an English class actually be? Most of them are based on something, you know, that will have to be really, I have 2 reports that I really want to produce next year. You know, a class size average always means someone's going to be below, someone's going to be above. And that's a good metric, right? I always think a better metric is how many students are on your total load. Because if you're the teachers teaching 5 sections in your department and all 5 sections are over the class size average, and I'm the teacher who has 5 sections that are under the class size average, we might have a difference of 20 to 25 students between us, even though we're both teaching 5 classes. So one thing I want to look at next year is total staff member load, number one. And then also that becomes an equity issue in the department as well. So the class size averages, you'll see, you know, I'll pass this around. You're more than welcome to look at it. You know, it might be hard to read. You'll see every column has a cap that you work against. But if you section to the cap, you'll really crunch yourself. You'll never hit a class size average. You'll have sections that go well above that cap. So we never section to the cap. We just keep the cap in mind because there's been just a lot of discussion by people who are teaching that class, using that facility about how many learners should be in that room.
We also, one of the things I've picked up listening to sectioning over the years too is there's always discussion, often more at the freshman center, but throughout the district, throughout all the classes, of leaving room in some of the classes that kids typically transfer into.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so we do our best. I know the freshman center does their best to get all the students enrolled and registered, so that by the time we're doing sectioning, we know what their elections are, but inevitably there's a handful that haven't been, right? You know, I don't know what the total number is, but I just hear the conversation around the table as we're in the sectioning meetings about we need to leave room in X number, you know, X, Y, and Z courses, because these are typically the courses that kids will transfer into, right?
So there's space in here for an each.
Yes, the bodies are counted.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to leave a little room.
Right.
Yep.
You know, it's just like room utilization. We never schedule 100% of our classrooms, 100% of our class periods, because if we did that, we would just crunch things and there would be so many conflicts. There would be no room. If Ryan had a conflict in his schedule to get to another class, he wouldn't be able to do it. He wouldn't have pathways to make changes.
Thank you.
Do we have like room for all the teachers like in the classrooms, or will they be sharing rooms with each other?
A little bit of both. You know, department offices will be utilized probably a little bit more, and there may not be as many rooms available during a teacher's conference and planning period. So those are things that we're working on.
We'll go on to the next slide.
Okay, board members that have been here before have seen this, and I feel like we might have looked at this a little bit in the fall, but I don't really remember. So what we're seeing on this slide here is the historical cost of the licensed staff. So Dr. Greenan talked about, if you look at over far at the right, that's 26-27, so that's current school year, or 25-26 rather, the 275 full-time teacher equivalents, right? That FTE number, total licensed positions needed, 275, that's current. We'll be going to 294, okay? So what you're seeing here is historical actual costs of things. It's a lot of numbers, but the bottom line is, you know, if we look at over the years, we've been able to, through the process of replacing people and hiring filling new positions as we've needed them. I'm sorry, I'm probably blocking it a little bit. By strategically looking at who we're hiring and what positions we're filling and what level of education or specialty degrees, things like that, that they need for that teaching assignment, we're able to manage that cost, right? So for example, social workers are going to cost us a little more money than potentially a brand new bachelor's step 1 English teacher or social studies teacher, right? And we manage those through the handful of retirements. We don't have a lot of retirements. It's like total 4 or 5 licensed staff this year. But those 5 licensed staff typically, in most cases, are at the highest, salary schedule, because that's what they do over their careers. They get more education and they move down the salary schedule as far as steps go. So they're much more costly on the salary schedule than replacing with a new teacher. So the savings, that's where you see the savings in these lines, that's where that comes from, right? And what that has allowed us to do over the years is from 2020 to 2026, add 28 new positions. We went from 247 teachers to 275, and yet netted out those hires with some savings. Now, does that mean total salaries in the budget has gone down $575,000? No, because there's also raises in the salary schedules every year because of part of the collective bargaining agreement. But this is how we manage that and kind of mitigate that cost so that it's not as much of an increase. Now, no way around this year, we're hiring 19 new. 19 new is going to be more money, right? But we're going to try to manage that with the hiring. We're going to still try to manage that with, okay, if we hire 19 people, but half of them are towards the lower end of the salary schedule, I don't know if that's where we are because we're still in the middle, we're in the beginning of that process, kind of.
Early.
We've only offered a couple of things, right? Things that the board has already approved. So, bottom line, like I'm saying, is that we can manage that, and everyone has been very, and this is what Dr. Green had said earlier in the presentation, everyone throughout the hiring process considers those things. So they consider the things as far as managing that. Sometimes they really need, because we offer dual credit here, right? And dual credit requires teachers to have master's degrees in what they're teaching. So for something like that, depending on what spots you're filling, you may need to hire a more expensive teacher because they need to have a master's degree, right? So it depends on the position we're hiring, but then often within the department, they will hire a master's degree individual in one opening, and then they'll hire a bachelor step 1 in another opening, right? And that helps us balance out the salaries. I don't know what the total is going to look like yet because we're still in the middle of that process. All we can do is estimate, which is what we've done previous, which is where Dr. McBride and I gave you way back in the fall, an estimate of $2 million rounded for 20-some new teachers. We're hoping we can be under that, right? Currently working on, with this data, the projection for where will we be at the end of June, because the next month you'll see the amended budget to kind of shore that up, right? And then from there, okay, what does next year look like? And how much tighter do we need to budget to make sure that we can accommodate all the cost? Okay. Are there questions about this process and how we try to manage or mitigate the salaries? And the last slide, Dr. McBride, we go ahead. It just talks about, what I know right now is the people that are retiring, their total salaries are $809,992. That's the retirements and resignations that we know of so far. The 5 retirements and the handful, at least a couple of resignations that we have so far. I think we might have 2 or 3. And I don't know what cost of replacing them is going to be yet. And inevitably, this is as of March 11th, but inevitably we'll have a couple of more resignations. Occasionally people move on to be a department chair somewhere else or something like that. Their family moves. And so that cost of current staff will probably go up, and then we'll see how it offsets the new staff as we move forward. Very hard to tell you exactly what those numbers are going to be right now.
But those are the parameters we're going to use to kind of flight path our hiring.
I guess I have a question regarding the newer teachers who are like fresh out of college. So they have obviously no experience other than their student teaching. How do we vet those teachers to make sure that we're getting, I understand that keeping the budget within budget is always a great thing, but if we're hiring teachers that are brand new, aren't they fumbling for a couple of years?
I'll refer to Dr.
How do
Green,
we,
but
how do
that's
we
why
deal with that?
There's lots of things about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Of course, there's an interview process, an application process. They have references. It really also is a point to the importance of our new teacher orientation program. our new teacher induction program, I should say. Yes, we spend 3 days with our new staff, whether they're first year or they're in the middle of their career, or maybe they're near the end of their career. But if they're new to Lockport as a licensed staff, they're a part of our new teacher orientation.
Okay.
Most of them are first years. But the answer isn't just those 3 days in August.
Right.
Each month, our assistant principals meet with our new teachers, monthly meetings, checking in how they're doing. They all have a department mentor. So we offer a lot of professional development for all of our staff. I would say those are a number of ways that we really look to mentor our new teachers, first-year teachers.
And probably the most important structure that we have is what we do every Wednesday morning. Probably a lot of us that were brand new to the profession did not every Wednesday have a team of 4 or 5 people that we met with who were teaching a similar course as us. When we started out, that weekly work does such an important job at helping people move from novice teacher to a more expert level, just because you have access to your colleagues. That just was not a structure that was available, at least as I started out my career in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
So, right.
And so
It's a really good question. It's a very astute question.
Yeah, and as far as evidence that we have hired good, quality educators and then retained them, that's another. I would also point to that fact that we don't do reductions in force often either, because for the first couple of years, teachers are probationary. That's the word I'm looking for, and that's the time where, if for some reason they really aren't working out, for some reason or another, that they could be let go without. I don't know the right terms for it, without cause.
Yeah.
Right? That's what
And the cause is generally.
But we don't do that. So
yeah,
to
if we're
me,
seeing performance issues.
right? That's another further evidence to we are doing well in hiring. We are doing well in mentoring and retaining and educating. For further along our teachers, is that we don't really have need. We haven't over the years to reduce.
Points to the importance of our evaluation. We're always working to get better with with those administrators, department chairs who evaluate. Yes, it's evaluation, but I also see it as it's professional growth as well. When you're getting that direct feedback from a department chair, from an administrator in your classroom multiple times in an informal way, in a formal way. There are planning conversations that are built into that process prior to a formal taking place. There's a reflection conversation as well. Those things are built in. We're mandated to do that, but I really also see that as great professional growth opportunity.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I would say too, aren't there pluses with having younger teachers that we have the opportunity in the district to kind of mold and shape them into the direction that the district is going? So there is, I think, a lot of benefit for that as well.
Even from the student perspective, younger teachers are more relatable. Like I've had, I think, I've had like 2 or 3 brand new teachers, and they're awesome. Like the hiring process works great because they're great teachers.
I think it points to the word I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of different ways that you can look at diversity, and I think that's another example.
Okay. No offense to those of us.
Come on,
that
Mr.
are not
Gleason. You
brand
guys
new
the other
young
day
teachers.
declared that your
Right.
senior year's over.
Smidge hurtful.
Dr. Green, and I'm sorry to interrupt there.
No, I think we're okay. So, boy, it's amazing. Dr. McKibben, Dr. McBride has mentioned him a few times, and it's really amazing how spot on he was 4 years ago now with his enrollment predictions. Last year he predicted we would have 10 more students. This year he was just way off. This year 30 less. So it's really amazing and just a great use of a resource, a person like Dr. McKibben, to spend that time to really analyze our district enrollment trends, student enrollment, community population, and a great tool for us to use for this entire process that we've been talking about tonight. We talked a couple different times about average class size. Appreciate the questions on that, so you can hear a little bit as to what we look at, what we've done in the going back to last year and this year as well. And then there was an additional document that I had included in my memo that showed, as I referred to earlier, the release periods, that we have a number of staff, department chairs, instructional coaches who have release periods. So there was an additional document in my memo that was provided. So that's how we were just wanting to wrap up for the presentation, and appreciate your patience. Know that this is a longer presentation. Obviously, it's a big one. Reiterate our thanks to you, and we're certainly here for any other questions that you may have.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your
Yes.
thoroughness on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. And, you know, it is the most consequential thing. It's actually staffing is the single biggest financial and then direct impact on students, because obviously we're hiring people, you know, that a Board of Education makes. So great job to you guys. Great job to the folks behind, you know. I think it's all the parts kind of working together. So that is my superintendent report.
All right. Dr. Huntington for the curriculum report.
Okay, so my report involves our student services restructuring. I had the opportunity to share that restructuring plan with the curriculum committee at our last meeting, but I just wanted to bring it forward to everybody here. Obviously, we are adding those social workers, which we're very excited about. But you know, there's a rationale, a reason why we're doing that, right? So we are looking at how we're providing overall student support services to all students moving forward by moving away from, we're looking at looping our teams, right? So we've got a team of a dean, social workers, school counselors that will be identified to work with the class of for all 4 years. So no longer is you're our freshman counselor and freshman team. You are my counselor for the next 4 years, okay? We hope that will, of course, deepen rapport, build trust between the students, the staff, and families, really support efficiency and kind of crisis management. Once you get to know a student and a family, there's not a lot of downtime in trying to figure out what's going on. We're looking forward to seamless transitions with this district because of our freshman center. Our kids have to go through kind of 2 transitions. We're trying to reduce that amount of transition. And then also just kind of builds in that holistic support. You could see the dean for support. You could see the social worker. You know, it doesn't always have to be the one person or not. So the student services teams are ready to start transitioning to this model next school year. I know what you're all asking. Where am I putting all of these people? I am actively working on figuring that out. We've got a proposal and a plan because I'm also don't have a budget for construction. So we're coming up with some really fun and unique ways to kind of reconfigure our current spaces using some furnishings and things along those lines to make that happen. So hopeful to work on all of that over the next couple of weeks so people know where their home will be for the next 3 years. Any questions?
I just wanted to reiterate, just from our meeting the other week, that I think this is a fabulous idea because I think it provides a stability not only for the students as they move from the freshman center through East Campus, but also for the families who are working to maintain that support for that student. And they're consistently working with the same people, providing that support for family and student. So I really like it. Thank you.
I would just say real quickly, I would agree with that because I had a child who had certain things that we, you know, every year trying to explain the whole big long story again. It was like, I kind of wish that they would just talk about it over the summer and get it over with so we don't have to keep bringing it back up.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense to me too. I think that that's a great way to give them more support and you know, not everybody wants to tell the story 500 times. So
Understood. Yep, for sure.
I like it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention too, I was in that curriculum meeting where you it is really well done, and I look forward to it being rolled out for the kids. I genuinely am worried about the space situation. So is that something you're going to come back and present to us so that we know how it's going to be managed? Because you had mentioned construction costs, and we didn't have those built in, and that was something that we had discussed. So we just wanted to know how that was going to be addressed.
Yeah, I have no problem sharing that with you. I presented the proposal to Dr. McBride just today. We're going to sit down and have a meeting about it. So, I've got a lot of great ideas. Nobody's going to be sitting on anybody else's lap, so I think we've got a good plan. It's not ready for prime time just yet, though.
And one of the things I would interject and get everyone focused on, there are two things in my career that, in my background, people dug up that I did in a past life, right, at a different place. Compass is one of them. People said, hey, you did this thing. This is another one. And one of the things I just would say to everyone in the room, having done this before, we need to pay more attention to the human element, to the teams. What I learned having done this before, you can put anybody anywhere. But if they don't know how to work together, we're going to have 4 new sets of people. We're going to be in 4 new constructs, really except for Central. But if they don't know how to work together in this new setting, it's not, instant bake. It's very complex, and the human field of working in these class level teams is far more complex. And done poorly, its costs are far more great than the cost of office setups. Also, I would say, just having had that experience, that when we moved into it in a school that I led, the individuals were not prepared as they arrived for the first time to describe the settings they wanted. A year later, they could actually describe the settings that they wanted. I'd refer to the classroom teachers here. Were you better before you became a classroom teacher at describing how you wanted to set up your classroom, or at the end of your first year? Probably the end of your first year. And so I just want to reorient this project to the human element, because I just learned, as leading a building, we probably made the assumption the first year into grade level student services that everybody, of course, these people all know each other. They'll be in a new system, but they'll all work together. And we underestimated the work we had to do to build them as human being teams. And I would just stress I've just heard a lot of talk about facilities, and we need to be talking more about teams. And also, it'll be stressful for people. We're going to ask this unit of people to also be the same people that are taking on an 8-period day. That will be stressful for people. And I just really want to norm us that we're not underestimating the stress around here in August. I just want to sound a note of caution about this, because think about this. It might not seem to be a really big deal. I found this to be in the school I led. For years and years and years, when you had Strite, you thought, oh, Ryan Russell is the dean. S. Russell. Okay, great. Easy. Hello. But now, if the last name is Strite, I have to say, what year is she? I have to locate the year, and then within the grade level team, I have to say, in the grade level team, which counselor? It's going to be all brand new for our staff. We all might say, well, what's the big deal? Just look it up. But when you have 160 students on your load, it's a big deal, right? These were the kind of things in my previous school we underestimated, and we really want to think out. And I would even argue and submit even more than location. It became far more important kind of from the pavilion of lessons learned.
Yeah, so we are working with those teams now. They are all aware of what teams they're going to be on. They've started having some collaborative team meetings. We are asking for some summer hours for those teams as well. So I think that we're being very thoughtful in that regard as well.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
So you know how you say like teams and everything, so it'd be like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be the similar structure to like what we have right now? Like, would it be like the dean's office area and like guidance, or will it be like this is the sophomore team area, junior
Yes.
team area?
The second
Okay.
one, right? So we anticipate, that there is not a dean's office anymore. There is a sophomore team office. There is a junior, senior team office.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And just one more question about, I guess, structure. So the freshman team, then when their freshman students roll, they move over here and the seniors roll back to.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And we were very thoughtful in picking staff and the teams. We also, we've got a couple retirees coming up in student services. So we do have our 2 retiring senior counselors next year. They're going to be with the senior team. So they will exit with those seniors. The new staff would be coming in, would come on the freshman team. So juniors, those kind of things. We're pretty thoughtful about it. I mean, that's not that we could do that now, but as time goes on, we don't know when people are going to retire. So it won't always work out perfectly, but yeah. Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Principal's report.
Good evening, everyone. So the March Madness has begun, and I think that is a term that can refer to college basketball, but it can also refer to school districts. We have so much going on, so many great events. Actually, in 2 days from now, we will have our college and career fair here at East Campus, so we're very excited about that. Our student services department has been working very hard, so that will start at 6:30 here at East Campus. We actually do have March Madness taking place with our staff members. Dr. JJ is supposed to be shooting basketball tomorrow against Coach Shavanik.
I've made
Good
it
luck
to
to her.
round. I made it past round 1. I'm probably going to lose tomorrow, but that's okay.
She's pretty good. At Central Campus, we vary it up. So I have escaped Uno and Mario Kart, and I am supposed to shoot hoops against Mr. Baumhart. So needless to say, we both might be eliminated tomorrow. But a lot of great things and events coming up. We have, great senior events taking place. Prom is around the corner. And we're really excited for that because on April 18th, not only will our students be partaking in a great day down at the Museum of Science and Industry, we also have a great number of our staff being honored by the state for the educators who excel. So we're very excited and honored for that. And I think the students and the staff are looking forward to spring break. But we are excited because we know once we get back from spring break, the semester is really going to roll. So really excited for our seniors and celebrating them and having great events as they close out their high school career.
One of the other things that we started this year at East Campus, and it's kudos to Dr. Green and Dr. Oswald, is Wayfinder Week. And it's an opportunity for our teachers to learn and grow from each other. They open their classrooms. It's all week long. I open my office so that people could learn what is it like to be a principal, a day in the life. And so it was awesome because we had at least 20 teachers volunteer their classrooms. We had many participants, and we had folks say, hey, I want to do this next year. So we'll do it again in the fall and in the spring. So that was one of the things that I wanted to spotlight. We also, the staff, we participate in teen mental health. I know that our students, they have done their second round of learning with the organization, but we learned on a whole day last Friday, what is it like to support our teens with the same type of training that our students received. And it was very powerful. We learned a lot about, what we should do to help ensure that our students know that they can always come to us and talk to us about anything that they need to. Again, I wanted to also celebrate our students tonight. Looking at Julianne and Gabriella as not AP, but as, Illinois in MSQT finalists for, I'm sorry, my brain just went schnur. I know, one of those moments.
NMSQT,
I know.
National Merit Finalist.
I know, like PSAT, NMSQT.
Hey.
I know, all the Q's and T's. It really is amazing that we had 2 student finalists out of 1.6 or 3 million. And so that is something to celebrate. And then finally, again, this weekend, we have Vocal Point and Off the Record. At their semifinals, we will be there this weekend cheering them on. We hope that they can advance to the final national event. But that's just kind of what's happening around here. March Madness.
Best
Yes.
of luck with the basketball.
Thank you.
We're gonna need it.
We're gonna need it.
It's all
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
It's all fun. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no overnight field trips for this month. Facilities report, Mr. Amer.
Any questions? Any
Chiller
chiller
turn
you?
on.
Yeah, this is really the great time of year that every facilities manager enjoys when you're not sure whether you turn the air conditioning on or the heating. It's really great. You know.
Just commenting on the lack of photos.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. No photos this month.
All right.
I know.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
Okay, so now we're on to our consent agenda items. Do I have a motion to?
Oh, and just one quick thing, later we're going to ask you to approve the construction bids, but I do want to acknowledge, Mr. Offerman is here. If at that point you have questions about those bids, we're not just flying past it with the maintenance report, so.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 2 through 21?
I'll make that move.
Second.
Ms. O'Halloran, second by, was it?
Candace.
Yes, and then, Dr. Shaw, can I request that consent agenda item number 2 and number 16 be removed for separate?
Sure. Okay, so we are going to approve the consent agenda items minus items 2 and 16 first. So can I get a roll call? Well, yeah, we'll do these separate. Yep.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Lopez-Caniva?
Yes.
Strike?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Garrettson?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda item number 2?
I'll also make that motion.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
All right, Ms. O'Halloran?
I'll second it.
All right, Ms. Hayes, roll call.
Lopez-Caniva?
Abstain?
Hayes?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Garrettson?
Yes.
Strike?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve item number 16 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Straight. Roll call.
Garrettson?
Yes.
Lopez-Caniva?
Abstain?
Strike?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the 26-27 licensed personnel staffing?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Ms. Lopez Canavas, second by Ms. O'Halloran. Roll call.
Hayes?
Yes.
Garrettson?
Yes.
Lopez-Caniva?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Strike?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the athletic trainer positions?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Garrettson,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Hayes. And I do know that there's a memo in here regarding this. Are there any questions? I know we've talked about this before. Okay, roll call.
Lopez-Caniva?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Garrettson?
Yes.
Strike?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the health and welfare benefits for the dean's assistants?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Garrettson. I can second that.
I'll second that.
Any questions?
I have a question, I guess. There's 16 dean's assistants that we're looking for benefits for. How many deans do we have?
We have 7. Well, really 6.5.
6.5, okay.
And dean's assistants provide, probably the most important thing they provide right now is parking lot and interior. So they're the people that if you go into the parking lots, you see they're the yellow vests, they were out there today. They're also the people that you're seeing patrolling hallways, delivering passes, helping deans locate students. And they don't just work during the school day. So you'll see, they work into the evening. Only at East Campus, we don't have a evening dean's assistant because there's a whole life, afterwards where we need that kind of security personnel, especially to manage our activity bus.
Okay. So they're not one-on-one assistants to the deans, they work through the whole.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question. If you were thinking, Ms. Hayes, that like they're an assistant, almost like, Kathy Maxwell is the secretary of the board. They you do see them working with the deans. You actually most frequently see them working with our SRO.
Okay, yeah. I was kind of leading towards that, like what was their main, I guess employment job, I guess I would say.
Campus security, really.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
Okay. Since there are no other questions, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the Quest Food Management Services contract?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. O'Halloran, second by Ms. Lopez Caniva. Any questions?
I just like to acknowledge the fact that they're contributing to some of the improvements for the facility.
I did like that.
Okay, with no further questions, roll call.
Strike,
Yes.
Garrison,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva,
Yes.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the bus bid for 7 new school buses for the 26-27 school year?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lopez Caniva,
Second.
second by Ms. Garrettson. Roll call. Oh, sorry, any questions?
A quick question. When does the new, rule come into play about seatbelts, or is that, I saw something in the,
That is still floating around legislation.
okay,
So, the capacity on these buses would comply with that. Most people who are doing that are having to sort of retrofit their buses if that goes through. There's heavy headwinds because of the cost.
okay.
So you never want to skimp on safety, but those who are opposing that bill are pointing to there aren't a lot of cases where seatbelts have been a safety indicator when buses have had accidents. Generally in accidents where unfortunately children are harmed or bus drivers, they're fairly cataclysmic accidents, because most of the accidents we experience, car versus bus, usually the car is the loser. So that's still being played out.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Garrison,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva,
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the date change of the April board meeting change from April 20th, 2026 to April 27th, 2026?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Hayes. No questions? I know. Roll call.
O'Halloran,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva,
Yes.
Strike,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Garrison,
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the summer 2026 construction manager as the, is it contractor?
Constructor.
Sorry.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Straight. Any questions?
I know constructor sounds very Bob the Builder for Mr. Offerman, right? But that is a legal term that Robin Schwartz encouraged us to use. It's a slight shift in the contract. We've worked that out with Berglund. Brian Armour stewarded that. So if there's any questions about that shift, Mr. Offerman's here, Mr. Armour's here as well.
Okay, without any questions, roll call.
Katie?
Yes.
Garrison?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the summer 2026 construction trade contracts?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Garrettson, second by Ms. Straight. Any questions?
Yes, I just have a question. Neil, you've worked with these contractors before that won the bid? Yes.
Every single one of them worked for Berlin before, as well as a few of them were on the same campus here last summer.
Okay. All right. Those are my only questions. Thank you.
And also, I know the Finance and Facility Committee last week talked about, increased costs.
Mhm.
And no one likes increased costs, but, I think kudos to Neil and to Brian Amer just for one of the things that we really were trying to avoid is any summer surprises. The board knows that in the past 2 summers, we've really gotten into something and then discovered this is some unusual construction or this wall needs to be rebuilt. And this particular summer, we just looked at every possible thing to make sure that those surprises are eliminated. And we know that up front. That led to some increased scope.
I do appreciate Brian and Neil talking about the value of looking for savings as the project goes along.
Okay. All right, with no other questions, roll call.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Garrison?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve Press 120 Policies Group 1?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Lopez Caniva,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Hayes. Any questions? Okay, roll call.
Garrison?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
O'Halloran?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. All right, now we have our first reading of Group 2.
Group 2, much bigger. So thank you for your patience as you walk through this. And this is part of this monster packet that we got, Press 120, almost 58 policies. Just a couple things leading into this. We appreciate Member O'Halloran pointing out we had 2 slides that said, this
left me
policy
hanging.
is updated. It wasn't you?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was you? I thought it was you.
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent of wearing a T-shirt that says, this is my T-shirt. Right?
Right.
So thank you for catching that. We really appreciate that. And then also, just to remind the board that when legal references and footnotes are changed, they don't change the substance of the wording of the actual policy itself. What that is that press is reinforcing the policy with a reference to law or a legal footnote. The board does not need to approve those. Sometimes I share those with you just because they can be such a big law case that you should be aware that that law case is driving, parts of this. So I'll walk through these. For example, these were policies that, and great work by my administrative colleagues on this, Stephanie Croy, Angela Huntington, Lori Cristofero. This is their packet. And then also great work by Kathy Maxwell, because there's a lot to keep track of. One of the things for us is most press policies are designed for K through 12 districts. We're a high school district, so we constantly have to maintain, possible differences so we don't approve a policy that doesn't really fit our district. These are policies that just had continuous review, footnotes, maybe updated legal references. 410, this is fiscal and business management. This was updated to require the annual statement of affairs to be by and many of these changes are just like this, by December 1st each year instead of before December 1st. Even if one word is changed, it has to go before the board. 4:30, this was revenue and investments. This was updated to add requirements of financial institutions in the Illinois Community Reinvestment Act. You have a new law, it requires some new requirements. We want to make sure that we have those, in our depositories and district funds. 4:80, this relates to accounting and audits. It was updated to reflect the superintendent's responsibility to ensure that the district's auditing firm files our annual, our AFR. It is ultimately the superintendent as the chief executive who needs to make sure that is carried out. 6:20, this is about school year calendar and day. This was a policy updated. The district may devote a portion of a school day on each commemorative holiday. So we may, not must. So if we have a holiday like Veterans Day and we're in session, we may devote part of the school day to an all-school assembly. That would count as our 5 hours of instruction, not must. Just a slight change. Curriculum development. This policy was updated to include a clause in the policy related to single gender classes and activities be reviewed every 2 years that are related to the objective of that class. Every 2 years need to be in compliance with new federal regulations. Actually, Title IX governs quite a bit of this. And Title IX does leave room to have gender-specific classes, but they have to meet a certain bar of why they would be gender-specific, if that makes sense. Why might you have a women's self-defense course that's different than a co-ed self-defense course, for example? Curriculum content, 660, policy updated. New lessons on that are in the mandated units of study, media literacy, mental health, and public law. It adds hands-on CPR and AED for high schools while removing the requirement that we show a Medal of Honor film that gives history in PE of the Medal of Honor. So removes that requirement, adds some new training that we have to do with high schoolers.
Dr. McBride, for that one, do we have all of the equipment necessary, enough equipment for AED?
I believe we do.
Okay.
Because we're already teaching CPR as part of what we do with PE, driver ed, and health. So you always have to do that to see, we'll have to look to see if that equipment is on hand. We're pretty good because Dr. Huntington led the, cardiac ready schools as well. So we'll have to check that. Good question.
They should have it. We do it sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're probably already compliant with that. 6:130. This is a program for the gifted. Basically, it removes state funding. The state used to have funds available to fund gifted programs. It's in essence saying a district might have a gifted program, but the state is not going to be funding that with grants. That would be a local decision for a superintendent board to make. 6:135. This is part of the accelerated placement program that was enacted a number of years. It's eliminating social studies as an automatic acceleration course. Just to refresh the board, there are courses that are designated automatic acceleration. I'm an 8th grader. I meet or exceed state standards. As such, in my freshman year, I'm automatically accelerated into honors English or honors math. Social studies used to be an automatic acceleration course. It is not anymore. Math, science, social studies. Math, science, English, excuse me. English language learners, a really simple change in 6:160. Policy updated to add the term guardian in addition to a parent to those who can be involved in the education of an English language learner. Parent or guardian. That was not present. It said parent only before. 6:2020. Bring your own technology. This policy was updated to add board in front of the word policy. That simple. It just says policy right now. What policy we're talking about? We're talking about board policy. Complaints about curriculum and instructional materials. We already have a process for this. If someone has objectionable content, but it's updated to, this is one of those that it's updating a legal reference, but it's the Mahmood versus Taylor case that has to be included. This case just provides some further clarification. Things that we actually already do. You're surprised if you found out that people weren't doing them. Like, you do have to speak with parents that want a child removed and have an alternative curriculum. You do have to have an alternative curriculum available. You cannot have a grading consequence as a result of a child doing an alternative curriculum. So the Mahmoud case reinforced those. We're already in compliance with this. We're changing it to reflect that. Guidance and counseling program. This was an updated law about student directory information, student direct admission via the Illinois Student Assistance Program, university direct admissions, parents who don't want to participate in those kind of things and want to opt out. We do a lot of information sharing. Next month, you'll see 125 Illinois State Scholars. Why? Because we share information with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, who decides who's a state scholar. Parents can opt out of that. They don't want that information shared. 6:300, this was updated to change the verbiage in terms of patriotism requirements to be specific about the proper use and display of the American flag, eliminates methods of voting and the Pledge of Allegiance, and each high school must now designate a specific staff member to serve as a contact for student financial aid application and graduation requirements, a whole bunch of things. So it changes, just really comes into alignment with state school code on a number of these graduation requirements. So it's pulling some out, leaving some in essence. High school credit for students in grades 7 through 8. This is updated to create some additional ways that 7th and 8th graders can earn high school credit while in 7th and 8th graders. It's very strict, very specific. For example, it has to be, you cannot get credit unless it's taught by someone who is certified to teach high school. That specific. Attendance and truancy. This gets into a very long change. It just expands the list of what you can be excused for from public education. It also prohibits school personnel from referring to truant, chronic truant, or truant minor to a local public entity like law enforcement. Can't refer someone who's been chronically absent like James Wyatt, who goes down to Springfield, and adds to his, doing good things. I'm using that really in a cheeky way. But it eliminates any kind of municipal fees or punishment for any kind of form of truancy. 7:50, agency and law enforcement. This was renamed and rewritten. It requires students to establish a policy by this coming July regarding agency and school law enforcement requests. We already have a policy, but this is being altered. It's intended to ensure the right to a free public education regardless of immigration status. It really reinforces that case law in agency interview. That's Plyer versus Doe, which is really the federal case that drapes over all students and immigration issues. So coming into compliance with that. 7:180, this is prevention, response, bullying, harassment. This was updated to include added language that gives a very specific definition of what cyberbullying is. Really. 7:190, student behavior. This was updated to include parent notification when a student allegedly threatens firearm violence. I know you might be surprised that that's actually in policy. We would always do that, but that hasn't always been done, so that's a change in school code. You have to make sure you update parents. I think you can see why that is. All across the United States, parents are facing criminal charges as well when children enact school place firearms violence, especially parents who had knowledge of said gun, its use, its storage. Student support services. This is also similar to Plyer versus Doe. All students receive student support services regardless of citizenship status. 7:290 comes into compliance with suicide, depression, and awareness prevention. These are all of the things that we need to do. We're doing one right now on our lanyards. Students and staff are required to have the prevention hotlines. That is a result of this policy change. 7:315, high school publications. This is updated to align with the requirements of media literacy, just so that publications, there's some new expectations that we're deepening the work that we do with media and literacy, 2027, 2028. Student records, a very simple change from law enforcement officers to law enforcement professionals. Kind of expands who that might be. We don't always just get police officers who come in. 8:30, this is another really simple change from a certified professional to a licensed professional. 8:100, this is relations with other organizations and agencies. This updates changing words, organizations, and agencies. These define these better and basically coming in compliance regarding law enforcement interactions. Very important in the way that we interact. It's a big group. That's all you've got this month. We'll be coming back to approve these. A lot of technical changes, a lot of school law from a busy legislator in 2020. Any questions? And if ever you come to these and we do a first reading and you want to know more, let's just, happy to schedule some individual time for next month that we could illuminate to the public and the rest of the board.
All right, announcements.
Okay. Next week, this week, excuse me, Thursday night, spring choir concert. Looking forward to that. And then, like Dr. Johnson mentioned, Vocal Point and Off the Record will be vying for a trip to New York, like Vocal Point did last year, and getting the Dr. McBride's true cattiness coming out, because it just, competition choir makes me very catty. Costumes, songs, the whole bit. April 16th, World Language Induction, prom, of course. You did receive an email from Kiara Archer asking if you would like to attend prom. So please go ahead and fill that out. If you are attending prom and for however long you're going to be there, let me know. We'll kind of organize. We're stretched a little thin that evening. I'll be in Boston. We're going to have some people downstate. Dr. Huntington's been nice enough to organize the group going down to Those Who Excel Awards, and then prom. So we're sort of fully deployed that evening. Spring musical coming up, art show, which is always great, and the spring matinee, excuse me, we already did our musical, and then the spring play. So just a few of the things shaken. And that is it.
All right, any questions about the announcements?
The board seems very self-satisfied that it doesn't have a meeting on March 23rd. Mrs. O'Halloran has a theory.
I have a theory.
You told me in the hallway.
Oh, well, we just
Women get stuff done, right? Women get stuff done.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Second.
second.
Second. Ms. Garrettson. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 9:38.
All right. Thanks.